medicine or healthcare in general is one of the hardest places to use AI, not because these models are inaccurate or these models do not perform well. On the contrary, these models actually do perform well when they are really being used. They provide really valuable suggestions, they improve detection rates, and so on. So this begs the question, why do AI tools fail as soon as they land in clinical settings? And why did doctors stop using AI tools even though they perform incredibly good when they're actually being used? That's exactly what this episode is going to cover. Hi, my name is Evans, a biomedical engineer who loves to explore medical technology and understand the real-world impact of AI, as well as the risks and limitations that come with it. Now let's imagine you have an emergency and you want to get to your destination as fast as possible. You have no time to waste. And somebody was generous enough to give you his Ferrari. Was like, okay, you can take this Ferrari, the fastest car in the world, great engineering, all. It's like, yeah, take this car, go to your destination. But to use this car, there's a condition attached to it. And the condition is that for every 50 meters that you drive, you have to get out, manually open a gate. And to open this gate, you have to type in a 20-digit code every single time. So for every 50 meters, you stop, open a gate, type 20-digit code, move on, 50 meters, stop, open a gate, type a 20-minute code, move 50 meters, and so on. At some point, this Ferrari becomes even slower than a bicycle. And if somebody offers you a bicycle on the side, was like, hey, do you want to use my bike instead because you're wasting a lot of time here typing all these digits and opening these doors, you would accept it. That is what I would do, basically. I want to get to my location as fast as possible. And this Ferrari, even though it's the fastest thing that we have to stop, open the gate, type in 20-digit code. It's slowing me down a lot more. That is exactly what is happening in our clinical settings right now. We have super AIs. AIs are very fast at detecting things, even outperforming doctors in some cases, right? But then using this AI actually brings many hurdles with them. You have to, set it up a certain way. There are certain requirements in order to get really good information or really the best out of this AI model. You have to fulfill certain requirements. And this requirement basically slow the doctors down in ways that you cannot even imagine. And it's understandable that at some point, they stop using this AI. So a typical example of a situation like this that actually revealed this to us or gave us more information is the TRICORDER trial. So the TRICORDER is an AI stethoscope which helps to detect heart failure, atrial fibrillation, so heart-related diseases with really high precision. And the way it works is that, like a normal stethoscope, we are dealing with sound, right? So you need to get a clean signal. So the doctors had to get a 15-second recording of whatever they were actually getting to. So maybe you wanted to record somewhere around this side, just put a stethoscope here, get a 15-second clean recording of this. And what happened was that this stethoscope, when actually used, had detection rates for heart failures about 2.33 times the detection rate that they had before. For atrial fibrillation, we had 3.45 times the detection rate that they had at the point. But out of the 972 clinician staff who were trained to use this stethoscope, 40% of them dropped the tool entirely within the 12-month trial period. Why? Because this tool simply didn't fit into their workflow. So there was no EHR integration, that's electronic health record integration. So the doctors had to manually type in their findings. And this made them even more frustrated because what was supposed to be a 15-second job now turned into like maybe 30 minutes or even 1 hour for some people. And on top of that, to even get this clean 15-second recording is not easy. Because just imagine you have to use a stethoscope. We are dealing with sound over here, right? You put it on a patient. You try to record a certain sound, maybe you're 10 seconds in, and then the patient just moves slightly or moves a bit. The recording is destroyed. You have to start again. You start to record again. Somebody just barges into your room, try to give you a news or maybe something emergency that is happening somewhere. Your recording has been disrupted again, and you have to start over again. So something that is branded to be a 15-second recording might, in fact, take you about 30 seconds. This wastes the doctor's time even more. And they have no time to waste. Imagine a general practitioner who gets about 30 or more clients a day and trying to, work as much as possible to make himself efficient as possible and have to deal with all this stress. At some point, they will stop using their tool because it's slowing them down and even making them less productive than they actually are when they are using their slow, boring systems. Let us compare this to another trial that was done. That's the Eagle trial, right? So the trial was just based on an AI tool that was designed to detect low ejection fraction, which is just a fancy word to describe heart muscle weakness. So what they did over here was that they integrated this AI tool into the doctor's workflow. So what I mean by that is the AI was just an invisible agent. It was just in the background somewhere. So when they performed a routine ECG on the patient, for example, they performed maybe a normal ECG, the AI then analyzed the results in the background without the doctor having to do anything. So it analyzed the results in the background, and if it found a problem, it told the doctor, hey doctor, this patient might have a weak heart. And the doctor will say, okay, this is really interesting. Right. So what can I do in this case? Maybe just order follow-up tests. So it made follow-ups a lot easier. So the doctor just had to, look at the pop-up alert that this AI sent, and then, okay, one click, we order different tests, maybe like an ultrasound of the heart, for example, to further investigate the matter, right? So this made the doctor's life a lot easier. And if I was a doctor, I'd also be happy in this way because I don't have to do any other steps. I don't have to use any extra tool in this case. So I'm not surprised that this AI achieved a 32% detection rate. That is 32% more patients getting the help they actually needed. And that is really, really interesting to take a look at. So the difference is clear between these two systems, right? We have this Ego trial I just mentioned that's basically integrated the tool into the existing workflow. So the doctors didn't have to do anything. They just sat down and the AI did everything for them. The doctors were happy. Everybody was happy at the end, right? But then this other tool, that is the TRICORDER, it's not because the AI wasn't good. The AI was actually good when the people actually used it. But then it provided extra work for the physicians. It gave them even more burden. They have to type in their results manually. And this is something that they don't want to do. They have no time for this. So I'm not surprised that this also failed, not because the AI model was bad, remember, but because it didn't fit into their workflow. And on top of these workflow issues that we have, our current healthcare systems are very rigid and fragmented. As the data is structured very badly, we have data scattered all over the place. And as you might already know, most of the AI solutions that we have are cloud-based. And these cloud-based solutions are mostly not compatible, or should I say not directly compatible with the legacy systems that we have. So the legacy systems are these apps and systems and hardwares and, softwares that are basically created for this different age of healthcare, this old age of healthcare, this stone age of healthcare. And it is very, very messy with, very old programming languages, which makes everything so much more difficult than it's supposed to be. During those times, everything was fine because data didn't have to move as much. But we are in a new era where we have even the higher need to have data in one place because we need to feed this data with an AI model. And this AI model, without all the necessary information, is going to give us bad results at the end, or bad predictions, I should say, which we might in turn interpret to be that the AI is not really effective or the AI doesn't have a really good performance. But we forget to mention that we are feeding the AI with just a quarter or just a small fraction of the data that we have in order for the AI to make really good decisions. It is happening all over our healthcare system, and a really good example of this is the case where a young man was suffering from some chest pains and went to the hospital to try to find out what was going on with him because he didn't understand why. Eventually he started having some chest pains and feeling very uncomfortable in the chest area. So they did some blood analysis and they fed this data from the blood work to an AI or predictive AI to try to find out what was going on, and the AI just predicted that the guy was healthy. So because of the results that they obtained, it looked at the values, saw that, okay, the guy was within a normal range of a certain value, the guy was within, normal ranges. So it predicted that the guy was healthy. And what happened? 6 weeks later, the guy died of cardiac arrest. Why was this the case? Because the AI wasn't exposed to all the data that they had. So the data is very fragmented. It's all over the place. And it didn't expose the AI to the guy's family history, which showed a really long trend of heart diseases and death that are related to heart diseases. This is a very, very sad example, but that is the reality of what is happening in our clinical settings. And you'll be surprised to know that that is not even the worst case that was recorded. There's also the contradictory information problem, where this also, linked to this data being unstructured and all over the place. So typical examples of this were the cases that were recorded while clinicians used the EPIC sepsis model. So this is just an AI tool that was created to detect sepsis, which is just a fancy word of describing your immune system attacking you. So your immune system just destroying your healthy tissues or destroying your organs as a result of it suspecting that there might be an infection somewhere in your body, right? So what happened was that they considered two different scenarios where the model was actually used. So in the first scenario, the clinic had a structured way of recording their data. So for infections, for example, they had a really standard way of recording all this type of stuff. And of course, when they trained the AI with this structured data, because AI thrives on structured data, the AI predicted a lot better. It actually improved the detection rate in that particular clinic. But when they took it to another clinic where the data was a bit structured, they didn't have really standard way of doing things. For example, for the infection case, in one side of the system, they triggered the code infection when the doctor suspects that the patient has sepsis, for example. And in that same system, they also had cases where they triggered the code infection after lab results have been analyzed. So this makes the AI really confused because it doesn't know what is true. Is it what the doctor is saying, or is it a result after the lab results have been analyzed? So the ground truth basically has become really different over here. And of course, when they train this AI on this particular unstructured type of data, the AI gave really bad results. And we had even a 67% of actual sepsis cases being missed. And it even generated false alarms for 18% of all other patients. This is really, really huge. Over 50% of the actual cases being missed. That is extremely huge. And that's as a result of the AI not being trained on a standardized form of data. So at some point, the AI was just, giving a lot of bullshit to the doctors, just predicting really wrong things, just giving them false alerts. And the doctors stopped using it, which is what I will also do, because at some point you get tired of these alerts that have been giving you, or these false predictions that have been giving you, right? Now, so we've taken a look at the microscopic details of whatever is happening in the clinical setting. So we've seen why some clinicians drop certain tools after some time, why they don't even use it in the first place, and certain factors that are associated with it and the risks that we've seen, right? But then let us zoom out even further. Let us go backwards. Let us see it from a broader perspective. Let us try to understand what is causing this in the first place. So the main thing that is causing this in the first place is underinvestment into deployment research. And when I say deployment research, I mean trying to conduct experiments to understand why these clinicians drop it in the first place, trying to understand why these clinicians don't use it at all, try to understand why these AI tools fail in these clinical settings. And that is what we are basically not doing right now. I mean, TRICORDER experiment has done a lot. That is the first step into the future. It has revealed a lot to us. Now we need to build further into this direction, try to understand further. And before you even build a product, we have to speak to clinicians. We have to find out what their problems are. We have to find out how they like things to be implemented in a certain way before you even start. This way we can find optimal solutions. And as a matter of fact, even after deploying this AI tool, so we've spoken to doctors, we've extracted some information from them, what they expect this AI to do, how they expect it to, fulfill this particular task and all, what will actually be good for them, and all this kind of stuff. Maybe we've extracted all this information, we've created a nice product that we think will fit into the workflow. And that is where most people stop. They just stop at that particular point, they deploy it, and that's it. But that shouldn't be the case. We should go further. Even after deployment, we should investigate even further. We should ask ourselves these questions. One, was there sustained use? Was the tool continually used by the doctor? Maybe we should just have a trial, maybe like 12 months, like TRICORDER did. That's a very good example. They did a 12-month trial to actually analyze to find out if the doctors continually used this particular tool that they created. So that should be the direction that we should go into. We should see who used it. We should see who didn't use it, why they didn't use it. And we should analyze what we can also do to adjust our approach in order to make it even more feasible for the doctors so they can use these tools and actually help to improve detection rate, help to improve patient care out there. Because these AI tools are really good. We just need to integrate them properly to make sure that they are actually functional in the clinical settings that they find themselves in. So just to sum everything up, the main questions that we ask ourselves in this particular episode is that under what conditions will this new AI technology be seamlessly used in the real world by real clinicians with real patients? And how can we deploy this technology such that it doesn't get in the way of clinicians and instead increases their productivity? And the obvious solution that we came up with was that we need to create AI that actually fits into the existing workflows instead of workflows that we imagine should exist. But what if we are looking at it in a very, very narrow perspective? What if we look at it in a broader perspective, where we have to change these workflows instead to match the current standard because we are progressing? we don't have to create these AI tools to, go backwards. That is basically regression. So instead of just getting this AI or creating this AI to fit into the existing workflows, maybe you can do that for now, but in the future, we need to focus more on restructuring these systems or these archaic systems that we have in order to make real progress with AI. Because if you look at all the other industries that have adopted this AI technology successfully, they use this exact approach. And that is exactly what the next episode is going to cover. Thank you so much for exploring with me today. Don't forget to follow.